Hello, everyone. I'm extremely excited to have with me today Raz, the founder of guild.xyz and an investor in Web3. Welcome to Growing Web3.
Thank you, James. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here too.
It's a real pleasure to have you on. We've been using Guild at Hype, and I've been using it for a long time. So it's great to, chat to the man behind it. So I wanted to get started by learning about your journey into Web3, as I know it's been a very interesting one.
Yeah. So I'm really passionate about games, and the way I grew up, I designed a lot of different games. I had my own experiments. Some of these games were like computer games that I programmed. Some others just I designed on paper. But that's really that was a very important thing during my childhood. And after high school I started, or during high school I started playing a lot of MMORPGs, especially RuneScape, and that's where I got fascinated about virtual economies, that virtual economies can actually exist. And meanwhile I also discovered Bitcoin in 2011, and I realized that all those things that I learned from the game can actually have a real a similar version of it in the real world too. So I was really fascinated by cryptocurrencies from the very beginning. And then in 2013, when I went to university, I was really, really bored with my environment, with the people around me in university. And I sort of grew up online. So I had a life online. And then when the first meme coins and the first altcoins appeared, I felt like something special is happening, because before that, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies were mostly just about buying drugs or all sorts of illegal activities online, and I didn't want to participate in that. But in 2013, I felt like the new Dogecoin was a couple of days old when I joined the crypto, when I literally joined the crypto space with my own money. And I felt like it's a very important moment, because people started using Dogecoin and some other alt currencies to just tip each other online, just to hang out on Reddit. And whenever someone said something interesting, we had a Dogecoin bot built into the Reddit forum, and we were able to just tip each other some Dogecoins and send each other for certain things online. And I really enjoyed that, because that resembled pretty much my experiences in virtual worlds, in massive MMORPGs. So yeah, I joined in 2013, and I became a dropout. I started taking crypto very seriously up to a couple of years. I joined a couple of startups and early stage companies, but then I also started working on my own. And but first, my first successes in the space was as an investor. So I started doing liquid investments from just into altcoins and all sorts of up and rising projects very successfully, and that allowed me to start financing my developer team. I always been a builder, by the way. So as I mentioned, I programmed my own games, and I started programming when I was just 6. But I wasn't a really good product builder. It took me a lot of time to understand how to design products that are other people actually want to use, and not just for myself. I always built stuff for myself. And so yeah, I was able to start financing my own projects, my own team, and we started hiring very smart people from the local hacker spaces, and started building more and more serious projects. We also had some detours. During DeFi summer, we built on-chain market making bots. We did a little bit of MEV. We did portfolio tracker apps. We created a privacy wallet, and all sorts of different things that we found interesting. But none of those things gained really significant traction. But after DeFi summer, I realized that DeFi is kind of over, or at least for a period. And because I had an involvement in the DAO space since 2016, in fact, DAOs attracted me to Ethereum at the first place. I really wanted to do something with DAOs, and I felt there is a lot of the ideas for communities and for social activities in crypto, they kind of lost in translation, because it's very, very cool to have on-chain governance, to have transparency for a community. But then like practically what it meant to many communities is just like complete mayhem and like unusable tools, like very not practical applications. So that the UX was definitely not there. And I decided to like start running experiments around this idea of building for DAOs. And we did a couple of different things, but then I eventually narrowed down the scope and like ended up landing on just permission control, like access control. And we built like a token gating app, sort of like that was the initial use case, to just like based on like token ownership, any kind of token ownership on chain, you can get access to like certain like private exclusive channels on Discord or Telegram. That was just the basic idea, but then we quickly iterated from there. But that has been my journey sort of in the crypto space since 2013.
Super cool. So yeah, DAOs communities are very much the focus of Guild. And when like one thing I find really interesting in Web3 is we have this ethos of everything being open, and Ethereum as an ecosystem is completely open. But recently, I've kind of changed my perspective on how founders should start communities. So, previously it was, open up your community, let everyone in, and then try and find who like the key contributors are. Try and filter through people and see who's giving the community like their energy, their time to the community, and try and filter that to find the people who are going to help build out the project, build out the DAO, contribute with code or with capital, with different things, with their time. And now I'm changing my mind, because some communities we manage at Hype are like hundreds of thousands of people. It's like, this doesn't work. It's just loud. It's noisy. So we've been using like the gated community feature a lot more. And finding this can really help like bring a lot of focus to communities. And I'm even saying to founders, maybe you should like think about gating your community from the beginning. If you want a certain type of user, or like, for example, if you're a DeFi product, you can gate your community or gate some channels to only let someone in who holds a certain DeFi token. So maybe say like Uniswap's Uni token. How have you been like thinking about this, and how have you been seeing? Have you been seeing the same trend, or what are your thoughts
100%.
on that, gating things?
Yeah, I always thought that like exclusivity and like curation is a key part of community building. You can just start a community like by just like letting everyone to join or like leave anytime. I think a community really needs to be like, there needs to be like some strong connection between the participants, at least the early participants, and there has to be a clear value proposition for the community as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a friend group. Maybe the community starts with just a couple of friends who really like each other and like to hang out with each other online and like share certain interests, and they talk about certain topics all the time. Like that's what I experienced in the hacker spaces online, essentially. Like most of these hacker spaces on IRC, like there are a bunch of like anonymous people. We don't know who is who, but like everyone sticks around because we have a common interest. We want to learn about new vulnerabilities or like new like all sorts of different news related to the hacker world. And I felt like this common interest is always key for building a community. So and the value proposition could be many different things in crypto. It could be like something like an opportunity that you can become an early adopter, you can become an early participant in a community, and like a lot of people do that actually with ownership. They distribute special privileges or special type of ownership to the early participants, but that's, in my opinion, it's not very genuine. But there are other other opportunities to like provide some value, and like The most obvious one to me is just like build something that people are really passionate about. So it is becoming their interest. And then like once they are really passionate and like genuinely interested in the things that you build, if you bring together just the core, like a couple of people who are like really deep into the stuff that you are building, they will really enjoy like talking about like topics related to that. But there are also other things. You can provide like a professional network or like a special environment for early participants. For instance, like if you are building a product where the target audience is eventually going to be like other businesses, then you might want to start building out your community with only allowing like builders and founders to participate in your space, because that will provide them like a very strong there is a very strong value add in like providing networking opportunities. So they will be able to like connect with other founders. They will be able to like build their own like business relationships. But meanwhile, they also like enjoy hanging out in the lounge or like in the community that you created. So that could be a pretty cool like value proposition too. But yeah, I completely agree with you that communities need to be curated or even like permissioned, not just at early stages. I think at later stages too. Inclusivity is very important when it comes to like basic human needs or basic like base layer infrastructure. So I think it's a very good thing that Ethereum is fully permissionless, and most of the technologies that we use, even Guild, is fully permissionless. Like we don't have to approve anyone to use Guild. I think that's a core principle of Web3 or like the crypto space, just as important as like transparency is. Yeah, it's clear that in the very beginning you need some sort of like curation and a very strong value proposition to build up the core of your community. But later on, as the community progresses, you still need to provide like personalized experiences, and the best way to do that is to provide like a separate view for certain people. Like if you are an influencer, you might be interested in like crypto Twitter related things. If you are like a hardcore developer, then you might just want to see the developer channels and like chat with other developers. If you are an investor or like a liquidity provider, you probably even want to speculate or like want to hang out with other investors. But it becomes noisy very, very quickly if you let everyone to participate in everything. So instead, if you create like specialized channels that are only being unlocked after like proven expertise or proven background in certain areas, I think that can really help. And yeah, actually, that's what we are doing at Guild. We allow you to connect the GitHub accounts and the Twitter and with your wallet addresses, and like a guild can automatically tell that someone provided loads of liquidity in a previous version of the protocol. So now they should have access to like a beta tester channel where like only experienced liquidity providers can chat with each other and the protocol developers. But we can also tell that like if you are a very active developer in GitHub and you have like 10 commits every week, or like just a couple of commits, then you should be able to like be like participate in a channel where developers explore the opportunities in the current protocol, or like to participate in certain developments about the like around the protocol. And this could also help a lot on the other side, like protocol developers or like people who run the projects. They can identify certain potential contributors much easier, because they can see that like, oh, all these people who got access to this channel, they are all very active developers. They all deployed smart contracts. They all had like previous experiments in the past. Or like these other people, they are actually like whales, and they are very serious about liquidity providing. They don't just like trying to put in $50 for the hope in an airdrop or something.
Yeah, super cool. And I think that word curation is so important, because the first 20, 50 community members that you have in your Discord as a founder will really set the tone for how it grows.
Yeah.
And I also think there's an argument for token gating in the very beginning too, or gating the community in the very beginning. Because if you just launch, a Discord publicly and you suddenly have 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 members, you haven't really had a chance to build up a culture.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's something that projects that launched previously, actually in the bear market, they kind of had this chance. They had to like really work hard to like build the culture up. It was like tough. It was like a struggle. And now people are in a lot of different Discords. They might not be giving them all their attention. So, as a founding team, you might have thousands of people in your Discord, but not that much engagement. And the culture might feel a bit lost. So, yeah, I think I think it's really cool when projects launch with 50, 100 members, and they really like focus in on how can we make these community members happy, engaged, and how can we help them contribute? And then they, build it out a bit more, and maybe that's lining up with a product launch. And then when they have their mainnet or their product goes live, then they're like opening the floodgates and letting everyone else join. Like I think Nouns, they even kind of stopped using their Discord, right? And now
they closed the Discord.
The token gate community for Nouns holders.
Oh, there are a bunch of token gated communities.
It's interesting
still,
that's happening too.
Yeah, but I really like what you just said. I think when we are talking about like early communities, or even maybe sometimes like late stages, we always talk about vibes. Like what's the vibe of the community? Because it does matter a lot. It's actually, I think, about like a culture, but also like to build a good culture, you need lots of like genuinity. I think that's especially very important for this new generation, for this new digital native generation, that like authenticity and like these things are like essential, crucial to really build something that people enjoy in participating in. And like it will, like if you do it right, it will create a bunch of like serendipity where like people will just like stumble upon on each other, like they will make friendships. And like that's how I made a lot of friendship online too. And like that's how like people make friendships on crypto Twitter or in like random Telegram groups. It's a really important part of community building.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, those first connections. I think of like the first communities that I was a part of. And I am still friends with some people from those groups like 5 years later, which is amazing. But they were all smaller communities. I feel like when you join this big server with like 50,000 people, 20,000 people, I don't know, there are big ones now. Like it's harder to navigate, harder to find like your people.
100%.
So, yeah, I would recommend founders. Yeah.
And like challenges also bring people together. Like I really like it in the Nouns community that like when I first got into the Nouns community, I realized that like, oh, all these other people paid like 200,000 for a stupid pixelated art NFT as well. Like we are in this shit together now. Like we have to figure out what's next. And like these kind of things really bring people together. And like that's why I made a lot of friends in the Nouns community. Otherwise, like if you have too many people and like those people can be into anything, they can be very different from you, even maybe they don't even speak your language. Like that's not like a good environment obviously to make friends. But wherever is just like a close circle of like-minded individuals, there is a much higher chance to like actually make meaningful connections, and those meaningful connections will create friendships and like a bunch of conversations, and those conversations will set the tone of the community, the vibes of the community, which will eventually manifest into culture, some kind of culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Nouns is an awesome community. And yeah, the barrier to entry is very high, which it sounds like means that people will definitely be engaged.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be just like monetary. Yeah. It shouldn't be just like monetary like barriers. Like I think that's one thing obviously difficult to get into a community if you have to pay a lot of money. But then like there are other challenges. Like I think there is a good example of like I personally didn't participate in that, but like when Paradigm had this like competition for like MEV, or like I'm not in like they had a competition for like young folks. I don't remember the exact name of the program, but like
Was it like
I
the
know,
race? It was like a
yeah, something like that. And like all those people who applied to that like Paradigm Accelerator program or something, the people who got in became like really good friends, or at least like who I met. Like they all told me that like it really created connections, because it was really really difficult to like get into the group. And like once they were in, that immediately created the exclusivity, which immediately like created the sparks between people, and like they were able to like connect meaningfully. They knew that like the other people there are like also like good engineers, good hackers, and it's funny because even people who really really wanted to get in and like put all the effort into getting, and like eventually they didn't, they created their own community for people who didn't get into the Paradigm program. So even like for people who didn't get it eventually but really wanted to, they started connecting with each other as well. So like, yeah, high
that's
barrier,
cool. It's like
rather that's like, yeah, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say that's cool. It's like they created an anti-community.
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
yeah, I like that.
Anti-community
I
is
like that.
worked really well, I think. I saw it multiple times. And like just like positioning the culture against like another community's culture or something like that works really well too. Like I really find it like I find it really funny how the Milady community positions itself in opposition to the Bored Ape Yacht Club community. There are like endless amount of like memes around like how miladies are killing bored apes, and like how, and like even if it's like a very weird thing, overall I think it positions the culture really really well. And like it sets the tone apart from every other communities. And like it's clear that like bored apes are about like celebrities and fame and like certain type of passion, while Milady is about like counterculture and against like revealing their face or like being anonymous, like they are being anonymous online, and like the exact opposite of like Bored Ape Yacht Club, and like that determined their culture.
Yeah, the Milady community is a very unique one. I've been a part
Yeah,
of for a little
I,
while.
I think the Milady community is the only one that really started like only started thriving after it got cancelled. Like literally for a
Yeah,
counterculture, for like a like really like an anti culture, like an anti community in crypto. The way the way to succeed was really through like being cancelled and like being hated by everyone for a while, and then they did like a stellar comeback. It's just amazing to see.
yeah,
But also like
it's
we can't tell, we don't know how much of like the Milady stuff is actually irony or like people are serious about it. Like honestly, like we can't tell if like how many percentages of the Milady agenda is like just psyops or like actually real and people believe in that shit.
we'll never know, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
That is the beauty of online communities. Is yeah, they can be pseudonymous for forever, and we'll never know. And the
yeah,
Miladies can be passed around from person to person too.
yeah,
Um, super cool. Um, so how do you feel about? I think we touched on this, like communities having this like vision or mission, and how much do you think founders should be the ones like driving this
hmm,
versus trying to come up with like a shared vision or shared mission within the community itself?
yeah. So I actually think that community building is super super hard. It's not something that you can just delegate to someone, especially not in the beginning. I think founders need to be like heavily involved in community building in the early days. You can just hire a community manager team. Like if you do that, you like if like projects that do that, they are usually like not very serious about like their future. I don't necessarily think that a community has to have a like a vision or like a specific goal in the very beginning. It's very important to have a value proposition, but like it can turn down to be anything. Like the best part of having a community is that it's organic. Like people will come, they will contribute, they will form it in their own ways, and like they will participate and contribute to the culture. So I think it's good to have like more flexible community goals, and like run communities in a way that it's really up to the community members, because that will create like a sense of ownership, like a sense of belonging among the community members, if they can really influence. And it's not just like a centralized story building that everyone participates in. That's cool too if you are like specifically building a brand or trying to sell something and that's your only goal. But I think you can benefit more from like organic communities.
Awesome. Do you have any good examples of communities that have kind of emerged organically that people can check out? I mean, I always say like Constitution DAO was like the kind of hyper-scaled version of that, because it was just like madness for like 2 weeks, and they did an incredible job to like rally everyone around this mission. But yeah, do you have any others?
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. I really like the joke DAO, but I'm sort of like a counterculture figure, or like I really like underground communities. I don't really like when a community or a product really goes mainstream. I always prefer to be at early stages of things. So my examples would be probably like less known, but I think the joke DAO is probably one of the most genuine community of people. We have very, very interesting people from all over crypto, and it all emerged around an idea of like, even though like we call it joke DAO, and like it's kind of absurd. No, so it's kind of absurd. How do you say absurd? I can't.
Yeah, absurd. It is absurd. Joke DAO is absurd, for sure.
Yeah, so like even if it's like fully absurd and like doesn't really make sense in a lot of times, I think it attracted a lot of intellectuals in the crypto space, and like some people are taking, like including me, I'm taking the community extremely serious. I think the team is actually knows what they're doing, and it's gonna be a very interesting like governance experiments down the line. Probably more important than like most of the DAO frameworks out there. And it's mostly because it's a genuine community with genuine like new like authentic ideas, and open to like it mostly because it attracted the right like intellectuals, I think, in the space.
How did it manage to do that? Like, what was the premise? I know I've seen it a lot on Twitter. What was the premise around like this open experimentation?
Yeah, I think David Phelps, one of the founders, he has a very strong personality. He's very serious, but very funny guy at the same time. And I think his personality was, and like he's also the founder, so like his involvement in the community made the community really, really successful. And his unique personality attracted the right people.
Yeah, he's also, I mean, he's a very smart guy. I've seen him write a lot of interesting things on the governance as well. So yeah, his blog is excellent. So I recommend.
It's a very good. Yeah, it's a very good example how a founder being deeply involved in his own community is beneficiary for the project, and like everything around like everything around the community they are building. Yeah, I think that's a good example. I will try to find another example too. Like a community that I really like.
Or any DAOs that have like sprung up around a certain cause.
Most DAOs are sort of like failures to me, or like I don't really like DAOs anymore, to be honest. Like not like Guild is not even like focused on DAOs anymore. We are more focused on permissioned communities. whether they are DAOs or not. It's really just about the curation and the personalized experience, like the curation from the community manager perspective and the personalized experiences from the individual's perspective.
That's cool. So permission communities
Yeah,
is the future.
yeah, definitely, and curated communities. It's very important to to spend enough time with figuring out a good strategy for a specific product. Uh, I really like the Seed Club community too, but honestly, I can't really tell what's the secret behind the Seed Club community. It's still like relatively new, and like just I'm just trying to like relatively new. It's been like around for a couple of years now, but I think Seed Club was able to like get very interesting, smart people together low key without even like most people outside would like realize that. Like Seed Club Ventures, for instance, has currently like 70 or something like contributors, and I think Seed Club Ventures is probably the only functioning and successful venture DAO right now. That's probably gonna have like a very bright future, and the way they put this together is mostly based on vibes, and that's a little bit odd, to be honest, because you can't automate vibes, or you can't you can't manage, like you can't create communities based on vibes with guilds. So for vibes you really need like a chief vibe officer, or like someone who like really good with people and like just understands the dynamic between people in a group. And Seed Club Ventures has those people, and or like Seed Club in general, and they were able to create together a very interesting crowd. And it's also like a productive crowd. So like people have long conversations about certain topics, about certain projects, and we actually do good investments as well. And we don't have like major misalignments or anything. Like I really love the Nouns community. I think it's probably it's a number one DAO. Like if we are just like talking about DAOs in general, but there is a major misalignment in the Nouns community between people who would rather prefer to build like sustainably in ways that like the Nouns DAO should be able to like generate some revenue at some point, and like between the other party, or like the other people who think that like Nouns DAO should be all about just the decentralized IP, and like strengthening the brand itself is all what we need to do, and like we don't have to focus on like financing or like sustainability in a way that it shouldn't come from the existing treasury. It should come from like new participants. And yeah, so there were a bunch of like arguments around this in the Nouns community.
Super interesting. So we're coming towards the end. I have a final question for you. If you could be the head of growth, head of community, head of marketing, or head of vibes for a project, one that we didn't mention, which one would it be?
Oh, one that we didn't mention?
We could have one we mentioned, actually.
I
Maybe
would probably
not guild, though.
Yeah. This is a difficult question. Like the companies that I find the most fascinating today are probably OpenAI and like Twitter. I think these companies have like limitless opportunities in its current position. Although like Twitter still is in quite a pickle, or like in a trouble. But like developing Twitter further would be really interesting. But yeah, I think I would pick OpenAI. because I don't agree with a lot of things that OpenAI does or like the way they do it, but I think there is so much potential that I would probably join the team for as like a chief vibe officer.
That's cool. I love that. They actually put up today, I saw they are looking for a Discord manager. So,
Seriously?
I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I'm paying them a pretty high salary. So if anyone's listening who's a Discord manager, maybe hit them up. But we'd prefer if you stayed in Web3. Awesome. Thank
Cool.
you so much for coming on. That was super fun and really great to chat.
Thank you so much for the invite too. Really enjoyed it.